Thanks everyone for joining us tonight. We are here for the fourth session in this year's National Network Strategy Conversation series, the 10th in our entire series of strategy conversations that are going to inform the Transition US Strategic Plan, which we hope to have finished this summer. We're here tonight to talk about scaling up through local government collaboration. This is a topic that I know is exciting and important to a lot of us. We received a lot of feedback on this topic in our strategy surveys we did in late 2019 and early 2020. And some folks expressed they thought this was, the most important way to scale our work. And we're really lucky to have with us tonight two very inspiring folks doing this work, bringing together community engagement, community organizing around resilience with their local governments and municipalities. So I'm really happy to have Brianna Cooper from Daily Acts and Ash Valenti from EcoVista. And you'll get to hear more from both of them soon, and they'll tell you a bit more about their work. And Daily Acts in particular is interested in working with us to develop more resources to support transition groups in working with their local governments, which is really exciting. So we're really grateful to you both for taking the time to be with us here tonight. Yeah, I'm Marissa on the Transition US staff team, and a couple just Zoom reminders. If you want to keep yourself muted for the beginning of the call, we'll be having breakout groups and harvest and discussion later. We'll get to hear from everyone. It just helps with sound quality if folks are muted when they're not speaking. Anything I'm missing about Zoom? All right. Okay, so I'm going to just open this with a few slides, sharing some of the feedback we got in our strategy survey. I am not the best at screen sharing, but bear with me here. Okay. Oh. Actually, I missed our grounding exercise that Brianna was going to lead us through. Well, I'll just share with you scaling up through local government collaboration. And this is a picture from Transition Sebastopol's Village Building Convergence we did, working really closely with our municipality there. That was really fun. And this is based on the city repair model of looking at intersections and streets and neighborhoods and how to make them more livable and walkable and safe. But before I go into the rest of the presentation, I will turn it over to you, Brianna, to lead our visioning, our opening exercise.
Awesome. Thank you, Marissa, and thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I'll say that my organization, we do a lot of breathing. We take a lot of breaths at the beginning of a lot of our calls and our meetings. It is not my forte, but I'm going to invite you all so close your eyes with me, please. And we're just going to take a series of deep breaths. And while we do that, I'm going to ask a couple of questions. And I just want us to spend a little bit of time visioning what we think successful government and grassroots collaboration would look like. So let's go ahead and just hold that question in our heads and in our hearts and start with some deep breaths. So everyone just close your eyes and breathe in. You can breathe in for 5 counts, whatever feels comfortable for you. And while you're breathing in, just think about what does that successful collaboration look like to you? And as you breathe out all of the challenges that may be in your way, any potential obstacles that may be in your way from a successful collaboration. So just take another breath in and think about what would happen in your community as a result of successful collaboration. I know we're all coming from different grassroots organizations. We all have different missions of things we'd like to accomplish, but think about what are what is that vision of success? What is the result that happens and ripples out in your community from your successful government and grassroots collaboration? Is it food forests on every corner? Is it folks sharing the bounty from their gardens? Is it people taking over the streets and bicycling everywhere because cars are not the priority? What is the thing that is going to make you feel like you've had a successful collaboration? Let's take a few more breaths and hold that intention in our hearts. When you're ready, you can open your eyes, shake out your hands, wiggle your toes, whatever it is you need to get your tongue loose so that you can share out with the group. Anything that came up for you. We wanted to spend a little bit of time just kind of harvesting any thoughts that folks had about what successful collaboration could look like for them. And I would say at this point, if there's anything that anybody wants to popcorn and share out.
More affordable housing, and although I'm in a rural community, it's very wealthy, and more support for those who aren't wealthy in the community.
Great. Does anyone else want to share?
I'll say the idea of not prioritizing cars and prioritizing people and their bikes and their skateboards. That would really improve my town if there was like safe biking.
I would say prioritizing the health of our rivers and our lakes over excessive development.
I think about collaborating. I think that we have to have a certain mass of citizens there to be able to collaborate with our local government. So I don't see that in our case at this point, and I think that needs to be an emphasis for growth.
I'd like to see prioritizing of organizations that facilitate backyard gardening and also opening up open space for community urban gardening.
Marissa, is somebody taking notes on all of this? These are great, by the way.
I'm taking notes, and wanted to follow up on what Mark Cooper shared. What came up for me was the idea of car-free downtowns, I think, because that feels like one of the hardest things. And when we tried to do that here, the resistance or the challenges are the NIMBYs.
Yeah.
People don't want that in their store or their backyard or whatever. And just thinking about like how I have worked with groups to overcome that by showing up with a critical mass of citizens. And I suspect Daily Axe has done that too. So breathing away the NIMBYs.
Well, in Columbus, we're working on community solar, microgrid based, and trying to convince our municipal power company to collaborate or at least purchase the microgrid energy that we're producing.
In my city, we're working with the 3 other cities along the Front Range of Colorado to actually get our power plant off of fossil fuels, particularly coal. And it's a big project, and we've made progress and have also met obstacles, but people are persistent.
So in Tacoma, we have a number of these things going on And what came up for me that we're really hungry around is better communication across different neighborhoods, and the capacity of communications to help accelerate the development of relationships in neighborhood councils and down to the neighborhood level. And also in that, we continue to have and I don't, I know there are a lot of people with a lot of smart experience here, but what we really run into is resistance to people thinking in systems and systems literacy, and a big worldview of we humans belonging to nature rather than nature belonging to us. So those are things that came up for me. Thanks for the process.
And thanks for folks who are putting their visions in the chat. That's super helpful. I mean, I think before we ask ourselves the question of like, how do we collaborate with government and grassroots, it's really important to think about what's our end result? Where are we trying to get to? So I appreciate all the visions that you're sharing. And it looks like Shelley, you wanted to share as well? No? Okay. Has everyone had an opportunity to share who would like to? Okay. Should I turn it back over to you, Marissa?
Yeah, thank you. That was really sweet. Okay, so back to this very quick presentation, sharing the feedback we got through our strategy surveys. Okay, so we heard from folks that local transition initiatives want support with collaborating with their local governments, as well as policy advocacy and electoral engagement. This picture here is a recent project called Cob on Wood. It's
Fresh Direct. You get the freshest groceries delivered on time every time.
Somebody else has to mute themselves. We got a commercial playing in the
this
background.
video, we're going to take a look at how you can access safe mode on an
or maybe my fellow co-host can help me out. I can only see so much on screen share. Okay, great, thank you. This project was recently created in Oakland by some community organizers working with the unsheltered population there. It was beautiful. It's creating a community kitchen and a bathhouse and things like that, gardens even, composting toilets for the unsheltered population who were living here already. And I just wanted to share it as an example. It's obviously really beautiful. I worked with some of these folks in Sebastopol. They thought that they had permission to do this, which was like, wow, that's amazing. But it's threatened right now. So yeah, learning how to navigate and work with the many government stakeholders involved in the kind of visionary and dramatic transformation we want to see in our communities. Some specific things that were requested that Transition US could provide to local groups are case studies of successful local government collaboration, a database of policies and ordinances, which the local or the Politics and Policy Working Group has started and would love help with if anyone is excited about that project. Looking at what's already out there and organizing it by category so folks have lots of inspiration and templates when they want to do their own policy work. Talks and workshops tailored to municipalities, and I shared this image from the Municipalities in Transition website, which I encourage y'all to check out. A lot of the examples here are from Europe, the case studies. But we do have the opportunity to connect with and learn from our European transition counterparts that are doing this transition work with their municipalities. And then another request was education on how 501c3s can engage in politics. And right now we happen to have a resident expert on that, David Cobb from Cooperation Humboldt, who's a lawyer and has that area of expertise. So you can plug in with the Politics and Policy Working Group if you're interested in learning more about that. A few kind of low-hanging fruit that were suggested for partnership opportunities, partnering with libraries. And this was a Daily Acts collaboration that we did for the Sebastopol Village Building Convergence. We installed a food forest at our public library as a drought measure, but it had a lot of public support. It was really fun to install. I think the maintenance is always the hard part. Community engagement for municipal climate action plans. We've heard over and over again that can be a role for transition groups, a niche. We are good at community engagement and we can plug into the municipal level planning. We have some projects that would fit in well with those type of collaborations. Ready Together, which is our emergency preparedness project that's launching next month. And then Transition Streets, our neighborhood carbon reduction transition handbook. And just giving a quick plug here for the Politics and Policy Working Group, we are having an open mic next week. Jess is co-hosting that with David Cobb, and we'll put a registration link in the chat window at the end of our time here tonight. All right. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Brianna to share a little bit about her work and perspective. And I see Mark Cooper, you have your hand up. Did you want to ask a question?
Yeah, can I ask you? I mean, it's on your presentation.
Well, you can, yeah, if it's somewhat quick, we can do that now, and we'll also have time.
It can wait. It can wait. That's fine.
Okay.
I'll wait.
Cool. All right, over to you, Brianna.
Okay, thanks. Give me just 1 second while I deal with my share screen. I know we all have wonderful complications with that. Let's see. Okay. Is everybody seeing it? Okay. All right. So thank you very much for having me. So I'm with Daily Acts, and as Marissa pointed out, we are a nonprofit in Sonoma County who has been operating since 2002. And our mission is to inspire transformative action that creates connected, equitable, and climate resilient communities. We have basically, so we've been doing this work, a lot of this work, we've been successful due to our government and grassroots collaborations. And so I just wanted to go ahead and highlight some of the strategies that we implement with our government partners. The first thing I want to touch on though really is collaboration in particular. When I think about collaboration, I feel like this image really works for me. Because I see grassroots organizations as being the connective tissue between our government and our community. And not only just the government and the community because of our skills with community engagement, but also between government and government. You know, my experience working as a grassroots partner to our local governments, the pattern that I'm seeing consistently is that, you know, our governments are, you know, they're all working on very similar projects, and they have similar permits and regulations that they have to meet. And even though they're meeting with each other, they're not sharing and exchanging information. They're not sharing resources. They're not talking about challenges and successes. And that is really a role that grassroots can play, is kind of being that connective tissue between our agency partners, almost pushing them and providing that lever to get them to shift what they're doing. Maybe it's a little friendly competition between cities. Oh, this person's got this going on and it's really great. Why don't you try it too? We're here to support you. So I feel like that connective tissue is really the ideal role that we play for our government partners. And we really see ourselves as an extension of our agencies, our partner agency staff. We have the opportunity to be more nimble and more innovative. And we can do that sharing of resources across agencies, and also, bring things to the table that they might not be able to be thinking about. And I think the other thing that's important is, providing that sense of shared leadership. So we're not doing this in isolation of each other. We're doing this in collaboration together. So our successes are their successes, and our challenges are their challenges. And we have the opportunity to solve them together. Oh, sorry. I'm realizing I'm not moving this forward. Hold on a second. Okay. Get this up. Okay, that was the one that you guys didn't see for all that conversation. So this was the collaboration image that I really like. So as we're moving forward, so one of the strategies that we implement in order to support our agency partners is really this spreading solutions and models. So with the spreading solutions and models, we basically, as I said, see ourselves as an extension of that agency staff. We provide the outreach and the education across multiple departments. Ultimately, when we got involved with our agency partners, it was under the guise of water conservation and stormwater pollution prevention. A lot of our programs were kind of focused on drought, around sustainable practices and alternative water resources. But we, steadily moved into supporting other departments like Parks Department. Now, as we're moving into more climate and sustainability focused work, we're talking to our sustainability coordinators at our agencies, and also helping to support some of the climate action planning and mobilization. We've been offering 100 education programs a year to our municipalities, and this looks like tours, talks, workshops, trainings, garden installations, and action campaigns. And really, some of the key skills that we've found to be beneficial, I think have already kind of been mentioned by Marissa as well, is really how these on-the-ground models like the food forests can be a means for not only community building and skill sharing, but ongoing education. So folks are learning, how to implement these solutions in their own landscapes by coming together, and they're also building a community that can support them with that process later on. The building of partnerships is also incredibly key. We're spending, we spend a ton of time in relationship building, working with our schools, our libraries, community centers and groups, churches. Really, the strength of our installations and our projects are based on the strength of our relationships. And the agency partners are relying on us to kind of build that connection and that community, so that we can be the conduit, if you will, for the information that they need to share. The other thing that's been really important and valuable for us is to really prioritize listening to the community. And so when we're working, especially when we're working with a new community group that we haven't worked with before, making sure that we understand the needs of the community so that we are supporting the agency partners and meeting those through the programming that we're offering. And then really, once you get some of these projects underway and you start building trust with your municipal partners, then you're in this sweet spot where you're able to do more and maybe push and leverage your relationship to really get your agency partners to step into territory that they may not be as comfortable with. And last but not least, the sharing of your experience, not only just with your community partners or agencies, but across other agencies and with other communities through case studies and toolkits and some of the things that Marissa mentioned. So, the next strategy that we implement is really the strengthening of community leadership. So this is something that we've done a lot of primarily in the coalitions and network space, but, and a lot of that is like specific issue oriented work. And what we've really started to shift towards now in the last, 3-4 years is leadership training that's focused on building these cross-sector leaders who understand the interrelations of social, economic, and environmental justice issues. So, we are an environmental nonprofit that's focusing on climate change, but we want to be speaking to folks in people services. We want to be speaking to folks in the building department and affordable housing. We want to be looking cross-sector at how the issue of climate touches everybody. And what we found is that in building this relationship between the sectors and building out this training, is that it can be a really helpful framing tool when you're trying to communicate with your agency partners about how one solution can impact across a lot of different sectors and help solve their problems. So I think it's been a really valuable way of reframing the work that we do in this space. And we're also noticing across the board, especially with our agency partners, how important personal leadership development is in order to sustain us all in this difficult work. And then the other key to this that I think we all probably can relate with is making sure that there's funding available to support grassroots to be able to show up into this space consistently and to have a seat at the table. And then the last aspect of our work is really kind of focused on building public and political will. So, this is something that we've been stepping into a lot more in the last 2-3 years. Previously to this, we've been on the cutting edge of working on policy, especially around alternative water resources and gray water policy. But lately in the last 2-3 years, it's been more focused on emergency climate resolutions, supporting our local agencies to build out and develop their climate action frameworks and plans, and really kind of being that additional support to our agency partners in regard to community engagement and making sure that people understand what's at stake and how they can get involved. And so really, I think the thing that comes up for me a lot in this space is that quote of, be kind, for everyone is fighting a great battle. And we really have seen this a lot in the last several years with our agency partners. They are so incredibly overwhelmed in emergency response mode that they have no time to think creatively or even strategically, to set themselves up for future success. So they're really looking for support and outright asking for support, especially in engaging the community in climate action. And so, some of our successes here have been, like I said, helping to rally, groups of people together to speak and to show up at both goal setting sessions and also climate or council meetings and climate commission meetings. And what this has resulted in is our ability to show up to help hold aspects of writing the climate action plan, specifically in Petaluma and also for our county. And what this does is it gets you on the ground floor. If your grassroots organization is involved and inputting into climate action plans and framework, in a way, you're already setting yourself and positioning yourself to be in a key place to help move that stuff forward through on the ground implementation. So, the other thing that we're seeing in this space is obviously in regard to this emergency preparedness and disaster response. Another way that grassroots can get involved is kind of through creating this network of support within the community to provide communication and resource sharing. And so we're seeing this value that grassroots has in being that community connector or communicator. A couple examples of that is the U.S. Sustainability Directors Network and their funding of this resilient hubs and spaces concepts, and how they are looking to support more of this for disaster response. And we're also, seeing things show up like in the city of Oakland's Equitable Emergency Climate Action Plan. They actually advocated for funding social infrastructure so that grassroots could get paid to help develop a network to support the city and create a more connected and resilient community after a disaster. So I think there's a lot of different ways that grassroots can, play that connective tissue role in all of these different settings. And finally, because I know I'm probably way past my time, finally, just kind of wanted to share what our vision of that opening exercise, what is our vision of the future if we have successful government and grassroots collaboration, sorry. And really for us, this is an image from our first food forest in 2010 that, we put in 3 days with 150 volunteers, contains 24 fruit trees and a 3,000 square foot space. And this is something that we want to see in every neighborhood. We want to see this. We want to see, grassroots being funded to be involved in this work, to scale up community-based efforts. We want to see decentralized water solutions, carbon gardening happening everywhere, and really connected communities who can survive the next set of emergencies we're going to be in. So that is it. Thank you very much. I know I'm way over time, so I will stop sharing.
Thank you, Brianna. No worries. It was, yeah, very valuable wisdom. So thank you so much. And now over to you, Ash.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'm Ash, and I am a core member in EcoVista, one of the transition initiatives. It's in Santa Barbara, more specifically Isla Vista, which is Chumash land. And I'm also on our local government here. I'm told I'm supposed to say I'm not representing them today. I'm as an individual. I am one of the board directors on the Isla Vista Recreation and Parks Board. So the Parks Department, right? And one of the things I wanted to share with you today is a collaboration between EcoVista and the Parks Board, our food forest, and I have some pictures of that. So let me share here. Here's our oh, that's the wrong button. Present. That's what I want. Okay. Here's a little bit about EcoVista. I'll go through it pretty quickly though, because I just want to get to the food forest pictures. There's John's offering of our values there: connect the dots, learn to love, act together. Okay, so the food forest here, it used to look like this picture on the left, and the Parks Department, well, our friend Tony went up to them and said, you know, can we do a food forest? And they said, this is where you can do it. He worked really hard and organized a lot of volunteers to come help. And we've made it really nice. This is what it looks like now. And we're adding more and more stuff every day. We just added white yarrow and dragon fruit cactus. So here's a picture of Tony. Here's some of us. Okay, how do I stop sharing so I can focus on other things? Okay, so yeah, that's one example, right? There's a lot of things you can do by teaming together with local government. Some other topics that organizers in Isla Vista have worked on is a compost collective that now partners with our local community services district. That was started by a group of students who got a grant from, originally it was from the Surfrider Foundation. And Surfrider doesn't support them anymore, but they kept growing to be too big for Surfrider to support them. And they went to the local government, the community service district, and said, can you take this on? And they have. Some other things that are going on here is with transportation and making things more accessible by bike and bus. There's a big one going on with Santa Barbara County right now, called Community Choice Energy. And that means solar microgrids that people are soon going to be offered the choice to opt into that and have locally controlled solar systems. And a lot of this is only possible because community organizers are fighting for it. Local government will move really slowly. They'll stay with the status quo. If you're in an area like Santa Barbara, many of them will say that they're progressive, but they really need community organizers to organize the people and, help, organizing what the community priorities are. Another one going on here is around phasing out fossil fuels in homes. New homes are not going to have gas now because of organizers from Community Environmental Council and a lot of other local orgs that have collaborated on that. Something I wanted to make sure to bring up is that we're on native land and we're talking about working with, the governments of settler colonizer, systems. So I think we should also think about how can we engage. I don't have a ton of experience with this yet, but I'm really interested, and I learned a lot from Cooperation Humboldt, the way that they give a 1% to the Native people there. And I think we should all strive to be doing more to engage Native peoples and increase their sovereignty and access to decisions about what's happening with the land. And another thing to bring up is that police department budgets are so huge, right? And there's bring it back to kind of Brianna was mentioning, like, building public and political will. And so it's kind of like seeing what are people willing to organize around right now. And I think people are looking at police budgets and how those should be shifted to, as Jess puts it, community care, right? Yeah. So governments are, I've had conversations with our local government workers, and they care about doing the right thing, but they admit that government is not great at pushing things forward unless there is community organization around it. And showing up to a public meeting and having 5 to 10 people make a public comment about something can make a big difference about, what's on the agenda, what's on people's mind about what the priorities are. So I think it'd be good to think about, what partners in your area can you engage on? The parks departments in your area, how much land do they have, and what can they do? One thing I'm gonna work on soon is trying to identify places to do curb cuts for water retention, getting more native plants that pollinators like, getting more trees, getting more edible things, so that the community can access locally grown food, and finding the partners to be involved in that. I think probably schools, churches, libraries are good things to keep in mind there. So I think I should wrap it up and let us get to our breakout sessions where we can all share a little bit more about, we can all share. So how should I wrap it up? I don't know. I'm new to public speaking. I think I said enough for now. I'll keep practicing. Where's our breakout session? Questions.
I can put the questions in the chat.
Cool.
Here. Thank you, Ash. So here's what we're proposing for the first question. And the second one, do you want to read those, Ash?
Sure. What kind of experience does your group have working with local government? Or if you're just starting out, what kind of partnerships are you hoping to build? What kind of skills do you need to build to be successful in local government collaboration?
Awesome. Thank you. And I'm going to put a notes document in the chat. Dawn's going to put y'all in breakout rooms with 3 to 4 people, and we would love some good notes captured. I usually really ask to have somebody be the designated note taker, but also want to make sure we're distributing labor fairly. So you can all chip in and take some good notes. We use those. It's all being captured to feed into our strategic plan. So I just put the link to the Google Doc for notes in the chat, and you can just take notes right next to your group number. So we have about 30 minutes for this discussion, so about 15 minutes for each question, and then we'll come back and do, 15 minutes for the first set of questions. What kind of experience you're just starting out, what kind of partnerships are you hoping to build? And then 15 minutes for the next question. What kind of skills do you need to build to be successful in local government collaboration? And I'll try to remember to send a reminder halfway through that it's time to switch. All right, so with that, Dawn's gonna invite y'all to go. The note page, the document is 50 pages long, yeah. Yeah, lots of good content. So we'll see you in 30 minutes and then we'll do a group harvest together so we can hear what were the gems of each of the small groups. Do we only have 3 groups? There should be, no, I just didn't get to
8 groups.
So how many done?
8 groups of
8.
3 to 4
All right.
people.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or does that make sense to folks? Most of us have done this once or twice before. Okay, great. All right.